I mean, Derek and Susan, like, yes, they're great, obviously, right? And then
Yeah.
like when Scott talked about, some of the different, Elizabeth parts and the different Ephraim parts and Kebby and, some of the stuff Mark does on, for example, Here Fire and Rain. And it just, it's just what makes it so great. And there's so many different, all-star musicians going here. And when you have a favorite album, right? Like, a favorite album, you're never going to have one favorite song, right?
Right.
Say there's 12 songs in the album, at one part in your life, song number 2 is your favorite, and then a different part of your life, song number 6 is your favorite, and a different part of your life, song number 10 is your favorite, and so on and so forth. So I think that, is pretty apropos here.
Yep.
Certainly. Shall we talk the second set of the final night? I know I've taken up enough here, a lot of your guys' time already, for sure.
Yeah, no, I
It's
again,
getting late on the East Coast as well.
I think they, you know, it was again, it was like it was all about sort of the execution, and they knew this was their last batch of songs for the year, and so I'm sure there was a very intentional. This is what we want to play. This is we love playing, and
Yeah.
and they sold every single song. I mean, I think Yes We Will. That is such that is such a great song that it's again, it's got that socially conscious message that's not hitting you over the head. It's BB King homage, very blatant BB King homage. And
yeah, I was going to ask what older blues influences do you specifically hear? Because I do hear definitely Buddy
she
Guy.
said flat
BB
out,
King.
this is a song about saving the planet and BB King. Here, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like just to take like
the opening note from Derek is a BB King note.
Oh, the whole thing is, and it's and it's cool because I mean, you can read it as a Save the Planet song. You can read it as like a traditional blues, like I'm having a bad time song. It's great, and I thought, Soul Sweet Song is funny. I saw it once at the Beacon. I saw the version the other night. And that's one of those songs where it seems kind of simple on the surface, but I think there's a way that they want to be careful not to screw it up, and so I don't want to say they play it tentatively, but they're not like really, you could tell, like, not just like going at it at 110%. They're not there yet, and I thought that this version was probably the strongest version, but like there was like a lot of confidence and gusto, and the way they kind of swung through the song, you could tell that they really were feeling good about it, I thought. And
it's not a song that they improvise on. That really gives a lot of room for improvisation, right? But it's a song that you can see them putting more emotion, or hear them putting more emotion and more intent into it, if that makes sense.
Like Make a Joyful Noise, right? It's one of those songs where it seems like very straightforward, very simple, but it also seems like it's easy to mess up. And I think they feel the same way about this. Like if it doesn't click the right way, this kind of beautiful song won't really kind of live the way it's supposed to live. And so I've always thought there was a certain sort of like, moving through it a little bit gingerly than they do most songs, but I thought this version was really, really nice. And really,
yeah, I was gonna say, what it is? I think on a lot of these other songs, you have more solos and more room for improv and different sections, where it almost requires this sort of focus, where it's like, what's coming next here? Like, here comes my solo, here comes your solo. What arrangement are we doing here? Whereas this song has almost a little bit more of a poppy type vibe. Obviously, it's a great tribute to Kofi, but I think there's maybe a tendency or a temptation, probably not for this band, but I could see like almost just kind of like floating through the song in a sense, without like really existing in every lyric and every moment. And the band doesn't do that. Like, Susan obviously puts her heart and soul into every single lyric, especially this song being a tribute to Kofi. But yeah, that's a special song, and not surprising at all that it made its way to the final show of the night in the second set.
Yeah.
certainly.
I think you know, you talked about sort of like a little bit of a poppy vibe to it, right? And I think they played it on you know, Jimmy Kimmel or
Yeah, they
whatever
put it
it
on
was.
TV. Yeah,
And you know, a lot of, you know, people who are into kind of the music that we enjoy, right? They would almost take that as like not a compliment, but in this situation for me, it sort of is,
Right.
right? And I think also too, you can think about the notion of, and I think they're really good at this, is not overcomplicating things when you don't
Yeah.
need to, and just playing a song, right? Like we always want like the giant, you know, Derek solo and him going off in, you know, this direction or that direction and all these different things. And there's really something to be said for just like playing a straight ahead version. And I don't think this was a super straight ahead version of the song, but you know, just playing a straight ahead version of a song and just doing it very well and just doing it very soulfully and
right.
very sweetfully.
Yeah.
Um, back to the Yes We Will, the BB King homage, it reminds me of from the Regal record, the Help the Poor a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, that when she said that, and to be honest, admittedly, I never really put that together, but when she said that the other night, I said, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah.
And then I thought of that song, and I thought that really sort of, you know, went together pretty well. So,
Yeah. See, when I first listened to it, I totally picked up on the BD thing, but was less tuned into the environmental side of the message. I mean, I read it more as allegory, like about
yes,
you know,
that's how I took it as well too.
and so but it does make sense as okay, like they're really talking about saving the planet. This isn't
Right, right.
yeah, yeah.
And that's sort of
Um,
that's just like an overarching theme, you know, whether socially or environmentally or what have you, you know, through, you know, that's a very strong through point with, you know, vast majority of their lyrics probably.
yep, I agree. I agree. You know, I thought the
Mhm.
Midnight in Harlem again with the big intro, the Swamp Raga intro was beautiful and just an excellent version. Um, you know, that did it. She made you know hometown reference to Johnny D's, a club that she used to. You know, the part about where you know where her no good lover's drinking was this time was at Johnny D's where she was a launching pad for her, and a lot of people I think responded to that lyric.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, so that was you know that song's always a lot of fun, and you know rather than ending on the big blues number, they did the Storm whipping post combo, which Matt and I were laughing. Again, this is the jaded fan. So
The elitist.
yeah, yeah. It's like we don't want to hear a whipping post, and then at the end of it, we're like, oh my god,
It's
that's
haunting. It's
that's
haunting what she does on those vocals
that.
when they
Well,
when
it
they
was really. I mean, Derek broke a
show stopping.
string. Derek broke a string. Gabe's playing the solo to cover Derek's broken string,
Right.
and then Brandon does a giant solo before they even get into the Susan. I mean, it was a really. I guess the lesson learned every time is like just shut up, Scott, and go listen, right? Like don't worry about and
Yeah.
and it's there's always a payoff. And I thought, man, like that was some powerful music at the end of that night, you know.
I think 3 times this year alone in 2022, I saw Gabe personally cover Derek changing a string on 3 different shows, you know, and he does it very ably, and, you know, it's really, you know, it's really cool when he does it. Um, you said it all. I don't have too much to add other than the obvious, you know, Sign of the Times is really great, and, you know, to me, the thing that I love about that song, and I didn't even know until I, you know, started on Google or whatever it was, that when they did it the first time at the Beacon, that it was a Harry Styles song. And, you know, of course, I don't live
Right.
under a rock. I know Harry Styles and how popular he is and everything. But the thing that I find so cool about what they do with that song is the chorus, he does in a very falsetto way. And Sue does it in a way more sort of robust and very like just strong and
Yeah.
powerful, and really
Oh
just sort
yeah.
of flips it on its head. The message remains the same, no doubt, but you know, again, you know, they took, you know, one of the probably 5 biggest pop stars in the world, and they took that song and made it their own, which is really, what can you
Yeah.
say about that?
Well, again, like that's like that really reminds me of like a tradition that you saw more in the '60s, right? Where cool bands would rescue great songs from pop blandness and make them. Well, it was like we were talking about Fire and Rain, like there's
Yep. Yeah, good segue.
there's the soul version and there's the James Taylor version, and this is clearly echoing the soul version. And Mark was otherworldly, I thought, on his performance on that. And that it is cool that they can take these songs that you wouldn't expect to be something they'd be interested in, and really just make it their own. And they got, I guess you'd say, they got big ears, right? They can hear quality no matter where it comes from, no matter what world it comes from. It doesn't matter if it's Harry Styles or Joni Mitchell. A good song's a good song, and they recognize that.
It's funny because sometimes I'll hear other artists doing songs. This maybe more so it's artists from the 60s and 70s, but I'll hear like the Tedeschi Trucks version of that in my head a little bit, or be like, oh, I can hear Susan doing this song, or Mike, or like we got the TTB has the horn section to make this work, or certain songs like, and sometimes like vice versa, I'll hear a Tedeschi Trucks song, I'll be like, the Allman Brothers could have done Shame or something like that. Like, how cool would it be to hear Greg doing the vocals on Shame? I feel like, they would have, Greg would appreciate, and Dwayne would appreciate so much of what Tedeschi Trucks Band is. And I forget who said it, but like someone was saying if Dwayne was still around, like Tedeschi Trucks Band would probably be something that like he would explore, or like in many ways maybe was or is the ideal version of eventually a band that he would be a part of, something like that, if the Allman Brothers weren't weren't a thing. But yeah, this is just a fantastic set. And for me personally, I feel like they always balance the shows in terms of giving everyone their shine. I've never left a single show. Obviously, maybe other people feel there might be slight imbalances here and there, but for me personally, I feel like I never noticed that. And I feel like I get just the right amount of everyone and everything. And I appreciate the care and time and effort that the band puts into the set lists. I know that they go back to what did we play in Boston last year at this time, let's make sure that we do play the same or don't play the same, or this or that.
Even beyond what's on the paper, we were talking earlier today, Matt and I were about so the encores, it's the ending, they're exhausted. They've been playing for 2 hours. It's the last show. And then like the last song, Show Me, is just like this showpiece where everybody is just like
kitchen sink
flying. And we're talking like, the part of the song when they kind of go through the horn rounds and the horn.
Right.
They like specifically, like when it was Kebby's, the drummers went into a totally different beat. And then they went back to the regular beat for the other 2 horns. And then they kept changing how many measures that. So, I mean, like everyone, what looks like pandemonium is really just very keyed in on the most like exacting level.
Yes.
To pull it off.
It's crazy. It's crazy how they just make the most, intense thing just look so easy. And you know that it's not easy. It's definitively, obviously not easy. They just make it look so great. Derek is, gesturing to one person and then to another person. And there's not even like a split second, drop in quality of any way whatsoever. And they just keep going and going and going.